AI to Go podcast.
I'm frustrated with the outcomes, Now, if you have all these books and all these studies, you have all the things, all the, let's say, wisdom, you can, you Google it, or you can have an AI help you with it. But still people develop panic disorders. Still people develop eating disorders. Still people don't know how to deal with trauma or, fall victim of a toxic relationship. So it's not just done just because there is the knowledge. You still got to live it. You still need support. You still need someone who's on your side when things get rough, and they will get rough during life. There is no such thing as a life that is just bliss, and it would be boring too.
Welcome, everybody, to today's AI to Go podcast episode. We're talking to Karin Andrea Stephan, the co-founder and CEO of Earkick, an AI-powered mental health aid. Welcome, Karin. How are you doing today?
Great. Actually, I love the title of your podcast, AI to Go. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm in Germany right now visiting. Nowadays you can just have podcasts in the garden or wherever you want. So it's AI to Go.
Excellent. Yeah, in the true sense possible. Let's get to know you a little bit. You started your career in the music industry. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did there?
Yes. So I started my career as a professional musician. I studied music in LA. Where else? And it was popular music, jazz. And that's where I met my then husband. I had a child, and we then moved to Germany, and we had to live off music, which is not so easy. But we did that. We created or founded our first company, which was the Music Factory. It was a school/studio sales, high-end instrument sales venture. And so, not playing anymore, but it was a good 20 years leading that company and learning a lot about human behavior on the way.
So interesting. Well, we're going to dive into human behavior today. The music industry went from cassettes to CDs to live streaming during that time. Can you give us a sense? What are your key learnings during all those major transformations?
The technical transformations were amazing, and they improved access to music. They improved so many things. Nowadays, you can learn just about anything from the comfort of your home. Back then, it was a real pain to transcribe things, to get access to certain records. But what has stayed the same is the difficulty, the magic of reaching a person's heart, of that spark, that passion that music excites. That's still the same. So things have changed a lot in a way, how we consume and how we learn music. But what it does to us and the role it plays in our lives has pretty much stayed the same.
One of the key assets of a music artist or any artist in general is their creativity. Do you have some tips for us how we can foster creativity in our daily lives?
There are many, many good ways, but I would say something that we can all do is reset, basically recharge our batteries, take breaks. You can't be creative 24/7. Actually, maybe you're creative more 4 hours a day, if at all. And it has a lot to do with lifestyle and also with sleep. So sleep is a big game changer. If you want to remain a creative person and nurture your creative muscle, you need to sleep well. You need to take these breaks where you go into another world and where your body, your brain, your memory, everything that makes you can recharge. And then there are a lot of techniques for creativity, but that one is a game changer.
Probably the most important and underrated, right? Taking a break and really trying to get to a state of mind where you are able to execute your creative muscles.
To let go. I mean, taking a break means different things to different people. With taking a break, I'm not talking about scrolling on your phone or going on social media. I'm not talking about, distracting yourself. I'm really talking about doing nothing. And while you sleep, you're not doing nothing, but you're not doing the usual stuff and you're not consuming, right? So that's what I mean by taking a break. Really, really letting go, really making space and room for that magic to sort of being creative.
Speaking of creativity, and I know you got into the music industry also from a business side, right? But what is like one of your guilty pleasure songs that you sing at karaoke?
Don't sing at karaoke, but you can get me excited with these songs. You can get me excited with, things like Earth, Wind and Fire. You can get me excited with funky music, soul music, good jazz music as well. But yeah, I'm more of I enjoy people singing karaoke, and I don't mind them being off tune or, all crazy, but I don't have a special song of mine.
You worked at the impact hubs in Singapore and Zurich to build local startup communities.
Mhm.
How important do you think community building is for startup founders?
It's so important. It's been important in the past. It's been important. It is important now, and it will become even more important in the future. Community is something that, as an entrepreneur, you cannot do without. And that doesn't mean that you have to be coffee chatting all the time or, artificially wasting your time. But you do need a group of people that have your back to some extent. You do need this exchange. You need to be a human as much as possible during your entrepreneurial career. And community is still something, I would say, that encourages serendipity, and that when you're in your darkest moments and when you feel like giving up or when you feel like nobody's there, can help you alleviate that pain a little.
Super interesting. Have you noticed any differences in the startup ecosystems in Singapore versus Zurich?
Yes, very much so. Singapore, Asia is very fast living, fast everything. It's very easy to test things there, not just because of the structure of the government and the country, which is in essence just a city. So
Yeah.
you can just introduce stuff that would be difficult to introduce in another country. You can test it on the living body. Let's say, for example, autonomous driving or, new fintech products. You can just go ahead and do it. That creates a lot of opportunity, but it also creates a lot of demand in terms of like things have to move fast, and the people get bored very fast, and the loyalty is not necessarily there. So that's that. In Switzerland, there is more loyalty. They take more time to develop things. There may be also they lean more on the cautious side of things, on the let's watch from the sidelines and regulate this first. But it has more depth in some parts, and you get the opportunity to see things fail without destroying it, without having to crash a wall, let's say. That's one of the differences that I have experienced firsthand.
Absolutely. And I think Zurich as a hub for AI companies has gone a long way over the past years, right? So there's been tremendous improvement into like the visibility of the ecosystem and the strength there with like some major hubs from, I think, Google and OpenAI, right? So there has been a lot happening in the years.
A lot. Zurich has always been very popular as a place to live. It's posh, it's safe, it's beautiful, it's close to the mountains. But now you're really seeing the big AI companies rushing to Zurich. And so you'll find everyone there. You'll find the big ones, you'll find the smaller ones. It's really being AI strong now. I'm liking this. I think we can create a fantastic ecosystem that is an alternative to what we've had, or maybe what you do in Silicon Valley. And just, there is space to grow, and there is space to connect, and there is this fantastic environment that makes for, people wanting to stay, wanting to study there. ETH is there. Some really, really good universities are there. And I can only applaud people who have their headquarters or their subsidiaries in Zurich.
Absolutely.
Contact me. Let's get in touch.
Karin is out there who will provide the LinkedIn details in the next video if you want to learn a bit more about Zurich and the AI hub there. Your career is so interesting. You started in the music industry with all those major transformations. Then you entered the startup space, building communities across the globe. What has sparked your interest in mental health?
It was the red thread, I would say, that I came to detect, because, during my time in music, even before, I realized that the difference between having it all, like having all the talent, having all the opportunities, having the right education, and really filling out your potential, being the person, the best version of yourself that you could be. The difference is mental health. So people, whether it's Roger Federer in tennis or, some of the very, very famous musicians, they not only combine power and training and grit and whatnot and talent, that they really got this mental game going. And on the flip side, there are so many talents in all industries, in all walks of life that could have been the best version of themselves, or maybe the healthiest version of themselves, but then mental health threw them a curveball. And that is so frustrating. And every time I get frustrated, I smell a business opportunity and I get going. My kids call me not pathetic, but pathetically optimistic. Maybe. Yeah, that's what it is. Because every time there is a huge problem and it really gets to me, I turn it around and I see opportunity. And that was very early on that I realized, okay, if we get this mental health thing or whatever you want to call it, if we get a hold on that, if we can move that even by a bit, then more people or more of us can do more, be more of what they intended to be and what they're cut out to be. So that's why I got into mental health. And because I was like, what's the thing? Where can we get in that is human, very human, that is needed and has been there since mankind started? And how can we combine it with technology and with everything around us?
Was there a certain moment when you realized there's a frustration and you could connect the frustration to an opportunity?
All the time. When I founded my company, my first company, no, actually, but I started working when I was 11. I was teaching other kids, my classmates. I was teaching them. That was also frustration. I didn't really need the money, but I was very frustrated that there was this disconnect between what we needed as students, the way you have to explain something, and the way teachers were explaining it, because they're too far removed. They know it all, right? But someone who's just gone through, so I would study 2 weeks ahead, and I had just gone through that. My students, they didn't expect me to know everything. They just needed help with something very particular and they were willing to pay. So that was my basically first business. Same in music. I was like, there's another way of teaching music, of selling music, of doing this. It frustrates me. And there you go. There is the business opportunity. There's a career.
That's one of the best things to start a business, right? Identify your own problems and then find ways to solve them better than what is currently out there in the market. Where do you think we as a society stand when it comes to mental health awareness?
That's a tricky one. That's a very tricky one. What makes it tricky is that a lot of it is like what we call things, right? When I grew up, we didn't talk about mental health. It was something else, or you didn't talk about it. It was drama, or you're being such, or you're being crazy, or all that. And then in since the pandemic, it's been a huge topic. Everyone talks about it to the extent where it's almost like too much, or too, like everyone is an expert now. You go on TikTok and it's all in mental health and everyone is a narcissist. Everyone is this and that. And the numbers aren't really getting better. Like people aren't really getting more help or understanding better how to help themselves or ask for adequate help. So I can't fully say where we're going. What I can say is that to me nowadays, mental health is just a human condition. What I mean by that, it's not something we need to fix. We can't fix being human, at least not right now. And as long as we're alive, mental health is going to be what we live, whether it's on this end of a spectrum or in the middle or on the other end. And the more we accept it as something that is really ours, this is part of us. And we need to deal with it and we need to manage it. Maybe we need to love it or turn it into our superpower, whatever you choose to do. But it's not something that belongs in some box with some labels and you would love to forget about it. That's not what we should do.
So you're essentially saying that we were, like in the past, we were on one extreme, right? There was no such thing as mental health. Now it's all about mental health. So we kind of shifted from one extreme to the other. And now how do we get back to like a middle ground here is, I think, the interesting question.
Well, the needs are still not met. I'm not saying we need a middle ground, but we need to see outcomes. I'm frustrated with the outcomes, now, if you have all these books and all these studies, you have all the things, all the, let's say, wisdom, you can, you Google it, or you can have an AI help you with it. But still people develop panic disorders. Still people develop eating disorders. Still people don't know how to deal with trauma, or, fall victim of a toxic relationship. So it's not just done just because there is the knowledge. You still got to live it. You still need support. You still need someone who's on your side when things get rough, and they will get rough, during life. There is no such thing as a life that is just bliss, and it would be boring too.
Your app promises to improve mental health within 30 days. Can you explain how you do that?
Well, first of all, the first step to improving anything is to realize that it's okay to get help, to look for something, to acknowledge, okay, I'm not where I would want to be. I'm not where I deserve to be. So that's the first step. So going on the App Store and looking for something like Earkick is going to be that first step. Then making the decision to, I am going to not just think about it, but I am going to follow up with action. Just sort of a plan is the next step. And then something very, very important happens. As soon as you go through the onboarding, you'll have your first interaction with the AI, and you'll talk about yourself. You talk about something. Whether you go to a physical doctor, or to a therapist, or to a coach, or to your mother, you will always need to open up to some extent. You're going to have to say, what's bothering you, or how you are, just to get that going. And that happens with the app. And we have made sure to have features and to design it in a way that makes you want to come back and take ownership, agency on what you want to do. We make this very easy. It's gamified. It's really A/B tested to the dot. It's well trained. It's scientifically based. So within 30 days, you will see a change. If you adhere to checking in, if you adhere to, going that step into, yes, I want to change something. I want to understand. I want to own this. I want to empower myself to change what's not okay for me, right? Or at least know where the next step is. So yes, we can promise that.
That sounds great. Let's dive into that a little bit. How do you ensure unbiased, objective care through an AI-powered platform? And how do you prevent harmful advice?
Two different things, but yes. So the first thing is that you have very, very good data, and we do. So it's not actors' data. It's not some data that we bought somewhere. We collected the data ourselves, and we took meticulous care in doing so. So that is the first thing. The trash in, trash out thing. And it was collected out in the wild, as we say. So not in a doctor's office or somewhere where it's really quiet. It's out in light, like here, right? The people who use the manual app would speak into it wherever they were. Then you have this aspect of having very, very clear guidelines and very, very rigorous testing. So it's not going after the fast and great things. It's going after first establish trust with being very thorough, then A/B test everything and test the models and everything you do against each other. We've been data driven from day one, even when was almost nothing to measure. And this DNA of the company has led to the algorithm being really safe and the whole environment being one that you can trust. One detail that I would like to mention here is that people don't have to register to download it. They just download it, and they don't need to tell anyone their name or their email or, whatever. It's really establishing that safe space and then going on in that kind of privacy first, in privacy by design approach.
How does Earkick's AI track and understand the user's mental state, and how accurate is this assessment?
So you have to make a difference between a diagnosis or like an assessment telling someone you're such and such. The way Earkick works is we have emotion recognition, if you will. So when people speak, type, or video into the app, it will basically pre-fill their diary. it's a page in the app, and say display some of the things that it recognized: the emotions, um, the how much anxiety or stress you have. Maybe you were talking about some symptoms, and it will all basically play back to you so that you can edit it if you feel that it's not okay. And we have tested that with thousands of people, highly accurate. And we keep testing it. So that's why we can say with a lot of conviction that it works, and that it also helps people deal with themselves and what has been recognized, and take action, but also take the responsibility of what the algorithm suggests it has picked up. So it's not, when we say that, it's not about telling you, oh, you have this and this disorder, or you have that and that. We don't do that. But we will show you if there is joy, or there is excitement, or there is sadness or frustration in what you poured into the app.
So you are analyzing the user's state of mind without diagnosing, but you're giving insights as to what the underlying reasons might be and what to do about it.
Well, you analyze how it's said, if you are using your voice or video or your typing behavior. And
Yeah.
you also take into consideration the context. And you also take into consideration what has been before. So it has a very intricate memory. You also take into consideration what has been happening in terms of sleep, movement, maybe the weather is a factor. So all these things in a multi-model environment play a role for your mental health, plus what you say, how you think, and how you express yourself.
I found very interesting when I tested Panda, that's the name of the chatbot, is that you can create or determine different personalities. So the chatbot can be empathetic, can be tough, can be a guide or a friend. Why did you choose to allow different personalities for your therapist?
Yeah. So this is also a result of the research we did and of all the A/B testing. A lot of people do not go past their first session with a human therapist or a human coach or human support because they don't match, or because they feel like they need a different way of having the message conveyed. And so to up the chances that somebody really gets the support that fits them, you allow them to shape the personality and the style of the panda. Make it yours, right? So now the underlying science is still the same. It's still, it's still the absolutely safe way. So you cannot create a Hitler, or you cannot create some mean personality, but you have enough leeway to create something that you feel comfortable with. And just as an example, some people gel better if what they need to hear is sounds like their best friend. It's bubbly, it's fun, it's fun, it's wordy. And some people just don't want too many words. They just want sort of almost orders, like, a captain or a coach. And if that helps you accept help or support, because that's the main thing, accepting help, then we're in business. Then we can do something.
That's so interesting. So it's essentially a feature to comfort the user, right? And personalize the experience given the preferences of a user.
To serve what they need to hear in a way that is acceptable for them. It's not like a game, but we have found out that it's so much easier. People are so much more honest also if the entity on the other side connects with them, or they feel like it connects with them. And that's a lot of small things. Again, if you're too chatty for someone, you could be the expert of the world, and they're just going to grow tired of you. And if somebody likes deep discussions, give them to them. Give them to them.
Yeah. Pretty much like a human therapist, right? So you either vibe or you don't, given the personality and the communication style of your human therapist.
Correct. And we're just at the beginning of this evolution. Unfortunately, a human therapist cannot change their look. They cannot change their background, their story, the baggage they bring. They cannot change their style, because that's them. And that's great that way. But if they, if they meet a patient or someone who needs to be coached after a waiting time of months, and then the only thing that doesn't work out is the style, how they meet and how they open up, that's a lot of wasted energy, a lot of wasted opportunities too. And AI will get so good at this that we will never want to go back to the early models. Clunky.
Absolutely. This trajectory is definitely there, right? So the promise of this becoming much better over the next few years.
Yeah. And
You can
combining. So we have people who combine, they have different personalities at the same time because they maybe they maybe they have difficulties hearing it from one and they go and consult with another. And you could have your whole expert panel at your side to make it work for you. Nobody says that you can only have one panda or one coach or one therapist. Those times are over. You can if you want to, but the
No,
sky's the limit.
that makes a lot of sense. That's super helpful to understand how you customize or personalize a therapist session or a couple of sessions even for a user, because for different things you need to get different feedback, right? So sometimes you need to get empathetic views on things. Sometimes like some tough love might even be more helpful, right? So changing
Yes.
this depending on the situation, how to deliver that message is critical towards success.
Exactly.
You mentioned in the beginning that you were frustrated with the outcomes, right? So now that we have all this knowledge available around mental health, what are the successes that people are seeing when they use Panda? Maybe you have some concrete examples that you can share.
We do. So the good thing is, even though it's radically private and we don't have any connections to the users, we cannot reach out to them. They do reach out to us. Apart from the many very fantastic reviews that we have on the App Store, and the rating, it's really these emails that people send us where they say that, for a long time they haven't been able to talk to their teenage daughter because they're, erupted immediately. And now that they both use their Panda, it's gotten much better to, there are people who tell us they did not kill themselves, which is very hard to, accept, but that's an outcome, not killing yourself because you had your panda in the right time and you were able to talk to it. But then also a woman wrote to us that she finally wrote her book. She finally got her habits in place. She changed the things that needed changing in her life and realized that that's what she needed to do is write a book and finish it. And she did. So it's, again, we had a woman that had just given birth to a baby. And in the moment where she was like feeling all the feels in one time, he was alone with the baby. And she started talking to Panda and just had this, she was able to just be herself and go through everything and vent and cry and laugh and be silly and have questions and not know things. And there was always this Panda next to her. So there are many, 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 many stories. And you can see already, we're not talking about, the anxiety, went away for 50%. We can also say that we have been A/B testing. We have been testing how people get over time. And we also wrote a paper on that. That the mood improves, that's an outcome. And that's not anecdotal. That's not people writing to us. That's really testing. Anxiety significantly drops if people continuously use Earkick. And that's efficacy. I don't know a lot of people or a lot of companies that actually show their results or write up what they do and how to do it. We do because, again, the frustration with the outcomes has led me this way. And I would love to do much more of that. The University of Michigan is currently, preparing a study where they're going to be using Earkick, and so we're going to have more data and more efficacy proof.
Absolutely. That sounds incredible. Like these transformations that people have, you're saving lives, right? That's incredible. Can you share some of the key findings based on the study that you conducted?
Yeah, we looked at things and that this is all in the app. Basically, you look at the journeys, and you look at the data, how people evolve and how they feel after a certain time. And to make it very simple, the continuous use is what makes a difference. And I have to say continuous use, not as long as you can, like stay in there for hours. That's not what I mean by that. But these micro sessions, this just making it a habit and turning to it, because if you do that, then you start learning about yourself, you start understanding your data, and you start taking more actions and taking more responsibility. And so having that makes you feel less like you can't change things, like you're at the mercy of fate or whatever. And the mood obviously follows as well, because if you have a panda, or if you can connect, if you feel heard over a period of time, that is going to have a positive effect on you. Doesn't mean that you're never going to have bad days again, but you know what to do. And another thing that is very important inside is timing. So if people don't stop using it there and then for a long time, their mood also goes down, their anxiety goes up. So it has to do with this micro being there in a regular way, and progressing at your own pace.
I saw that also enterprises are leveraging Panda for their workforce. What are the outcomes that they are optimizing for in an employer-employee setting?
So in the employer-employee setting, there are many ways that Earkick can be used. I'm just going to give you a few. So when a company doesn't know really where to start, the minimum they can do to get this topic going, I'm not talking having a talk here or, a yearly survey that nobody likes. It's really giving them a tool that they can use that is absolutely safe and that is absolutely private. So it's not like, oh, you have to do this. The employees get an access to the app. They can download it. They use it whether they're at work or at home. And the company pays for that. So that's a basis, right? And based on that, you start having kind of like culture shift that enables the next step, which would be you can look at a back office with aggregated data. Of course, you don't see single people, or you don't know who is who, or there's no way to trace back, but you get a very good feel for what's going on. Do people sleep enough? Are people worried? Does it correlate with certain events in the office? Does it correlate with certain seasons? Does it correlate with other things? When you start changing something, like let's say you turn meetings into walking meetings, or you stop 20% of the meetings that you believe you can do without, you can then again measure whether there is an outcome, whether the mental readiness improves. And so depending on the company and where they are right then and there, you can do a lot of things. And imagine in one company, the CEO is openly using it. Imagine that power. So he's using it, he's talking about it, he's having these interactions in his one-on-ones with his managers, and the managers with their managers, and so on. It trickles down. And that is just a matter of time until that goes really, really strong. And again, everything is measured. So they can actually see how their efforts are not just in costs, but also in measurable improvement. And it will show up in the ROI, it will show up in the bottom line.
So less days of people not going into the office because they are sick, better team interactions, more engagement.
For example. Yeah. And one thing that is really important and why we gave it so much thought is that the elephant in the room is always, well, who is responsible, right? So if somebody has a private problem at home, divorce, whatever, is it the employer's problem? Does the employer have to do something, or on the other hand, if someone, leads an unhealthy life, and expects the employer to fix it all for him, her, all these questions can be tackled with that, because the employee has a companion in private life and in professional life that also keeps a check on that and can help with understanding, if I party all night or if I don't get enough sleep, it's going to be very difficult to be creative at work. Or if I have something like a case of grief, then this is what I could be saying to my manager. This is how I can address it. This is how I can think about it, how I can act upon it. Or if somebody really needs medical support, immediate attention, again, the employer will know that the employee has a way to discuss that without being exposed. And this is just the beginning of what is possible. Because again, who's responsible? When? How do we interact? How do we offer something and when? That's all quite complex because people feel like it's maybe not on their boss's business.
My biggest concern would be privacy, right? So if I talk about my private issues very openly with a chatbot that is sponsored by my employer, there's a lot of trust involved, right? How do you solve that?
Absolutely.
How do you solve that technically and also psychologically?
Both are very important, also the communication around it. So
Yeah.
first of all, people need to understand how Earkick is built and see that their journey or whatever they do is absolutely disconnected from their employer. Nobody on the employer side, not even us, we cannot see or hear or have an access to what is said. They have to see this, technically understand it also. We do that. We take the time. And on the employer side, they also need to understand that for them, the best thing is to know trends, not details. And that this is not a spy tool. The best way, again, is if they see that the CEO or the team lead, their manager is also using it and how they're using it. So it's a lot of storytelling and how things are used and testing. I'm in charge of my data. I can share my data, but I can also unshare my data. I can erase my data. I'm the owner of my data. And when people experience this firsthand, then they can establish trust. And it's doable, but I understand. I understand that you don't want to be ranting about your workplace or your manager if you're not sure that they're going to listen to it. However, I find it very interesting that people do so with OpenAI, but that's a different thing.
That's a different thing. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there are still a lot of misconceptions out there. What are some of the most persistent ones that drive you crazy that you would like to demystify or debunk?
Well, where do I start? I think it's not so much technical. I think it's still very, very deeply ingrained that having a problem or, taking time for that patch of life is bad. It's going to destroy your career. It's going to slow you down. It's going to have consequences. Because the thing is that you cannot just write a manual and do away with it. This is something. Trust has to be earned. And the narrative around what is weakness, what is not weakness, what is something that is good for your career, and what is, how important is what other people think about you, that's not done in a day. That is a process that you have to go through. And it frustrates me when there is not enough opportunity to share the stories, to see how other people do things. That frustrates me. In smaller teams, it's easier. In startup world, it's easier. But the bigger a company becomes, the more there is politics and the more there is this unspoken stuff that hinders people to be their true selves with themselves, even at home. And that hinders people in changing at least the culture in their own team. Yeah.
Are there any limitations to what Panda can do today, and how do you communicate this to users?
Limitations in as well.
What it should
Panda is
do?
especially, yes. We imagine a fantastic user experience, even better than the one that we have now. We imagine that hands-free is already there, I think, that you can speak hands-free, that the voice is exactly as you like it, that we don't even have to ask questions and we already know what kind of personality is going to fit you, that from a few words only, we already know what's going to work best for you and only you. All that is in the making, but it's technically not there yet. Fantastic memory, better than the one that we had. There's always room for improvement and an endless way to shape the looks, the personality, the character, etc. of Panda. That would be things that I imagine. Also, to really have a tough Panda that is genuinely giving you a hard time, that is good for you. So what I mean by that is kind of like what a therapist does or a coach, that they know exactly when to put pressure on you and when to take it away. The models are not quite there yet, that they can really have a longer session and challenge you in a way that is exactly the right amount for you. And then, but draw back and do all this stuff. AI is not there yet, but we're working on it.
That sounds very promising. So one key thing that I'd like to take home is that Earkick and Panda help make mental health awareness and action more accessible to everyone, essentially, right? Now, my question is, like, looking at the human versus AI part of this conversation, how do you see the role of AI therapists evolving as part of broader mental health care? Like, what is the relationship between human and AI therapists going forward?
Many things, but one thing for sure is that AI therapists are going to make human therapists more human. They're going to empower them. They're going to help close the tremendous gap that we have. And they're going to show through a lived experience, we're going to be able to show that we're not pitting a machine against a human. That's not the discussion. We should compare machines and machines, and humans and humans. But humans who will not know or not use AI in a way that they can, they'll just not do their best job. What I'm saying is, like, yes, you should be able as a end user, you should be able to seamlessly go from this bot to this therapist, to this coach, to this companion, and it will all be the same great experience. Because in the end, what matters is that you reach your goal and that you feel heard, understood, and accompanied towards your goals in the best way possible, whether that's a physical goal or it's a psychological goal, or it's something very mundane or something really big that takes years. We really deserve to have this whole system of people and of machines seamlessly working together to get humanity to a better place in terms of health and health span and well-being.
What is your personal outlook for an AI society? Will we be more healthy and happy people due to AI therapists? Will we be more stressed and anxious due to misinformation and AI taking our jobs? What's your view on how this will play out on a societal level?
I tend very much on the positive side. I think that the problems that we have are still the same, and we still have to tackle them with education, with community, with the stories that we tell ourselves and others. And AI is a huge lever. It's a fantastic lever. It's the best tool humanity has ever built. We get to shape that tool, and we have to. So there is no excuse for people who can work in AI and don't. We all have this responsibility to really get our hands dirty with it and to really keep the human and the value that we add to humanity front and center of what we do. Then I'm very positive about AI. There are lots of negative things that I could imagine, but I believe in that humanity can solve this and can make this happen without killing everyone, without making everyone sick and addicted and all of that. But it's a long road, and we're on the way. We're on the way already.
Thank you so much, Karin. When people want to test out Earkick, what can they do to get started and get a feel for if the solution that you guys have built fits to their needs?
Well, first of all, go download it. You don't have to register. Just download it, play around with it. We also have a blog post where I write a lot about it, and lots of topics. And then don't do this in isolation. Have your friend or colleague, whatever, also download it and start creating something with this tool that you're given. And yeah, write to me if you're furious, if you're happy, if you have ideas, if you have suggestions. We're a founder pair that really interacts with people who write to us, and we'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Karin. I really appreciate our conversation. I learned so much today about mental health and how AI can play a role, even saving lives. That was an interesting takeaway. And everyone, thank you so much for staying with us. If you guys made it to the end of the video, make sure to subscribe, like, and share with your friends, colleagues, and family. And if you have any feedback or ideas, just want to say hi, don't be shy and leave us a comment below. That's it for now. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
AI to Go podcast.